Welcome to Mindful Reality, the channel that covers reality TV from a mental health perspective. So, I wanted to talk about something, right? Okay, where do I begin? So, if you guys have watched the finale part two of the present challenge season, which I think was season 41, uh, something that happened on there highlights my beef with the modern day challenge. And I'll tell you what that is. So, when we talk about the challenge, a lot of us are like, it's not like back in the day. Like back in the day when there was fights, when there was a lot of hookups, when there was a lot of drama, when there was a lot of beef, when there was just a lot. And I know that some of the fact that there's less of that is attributed to the era that we're in, where people are more politically correct, people are more coached before they get on the show, they're somewhat more culturally sensitive. Those are some factors. But another thing I'm realizing is they just don't show us a lot anymore. Sometimes things still happen. Sometimes they still do have fights. Maybe not necessarily physical ones, but like bad verbal fights. Cause and the thing that's starting to really annoy me, right, is that everybody has a freaking podcast. At the beginning, when challengers and reality TV people started having podcasts and going live and stuff, I loved it because I was like, normally when the show ends, you don't get to hear a point of view of the actual challenger, right? Because it was just like whatever we see on TV is whatever we see on TV, and we don't know anything else because we weren't there. And we don't have any way to hear about it from the people who were there, because it wasn't like how it is now where they could just say, I'm going on Instagram live and I'm going to just spill all the tea. But here's the part that I don't like. If an incident happens in a house, right, I don't care how many people were in the room, I don't care how many people saw it, heard pieces and parts of it. The two people who can attest to the story most accurately are the two people that were there. And then we've seen cases, or I've seen cases, where if a story is being recounted, hi Vicky, if a story is being recounted, um, the house guests are always going to pile on the one that they don't like. If two people had an altercation and they like one of them and they don't like the other one, then they're going to say that the person they like was in the right and the person that they don't like is in the wrong because they're biased. So with all that being said, I'll tell you something. I don't know Anissa personally, obviously. Like she's not my friend. Um Out of challengers that I've had the most conversations with, really the only one I've had conversations with about anything about other than the challenge is just Kara. And then I've had conversations at events with CT about non-challenge stuff. At the two events that I met him at, and I can't. Ayana. Ayana is probably the one that I've spoken to the most actually um because I have her phone number and we've spoken on the phone plenty of times. She's another great example, but I'm gonna go back to this one because this is the one that just happened. Now, I was at the challenge premiere party. They had a challenge premiere party at the beginning of this season in New York City. The people who do the challenge mania parties, which is Scott Yeager and Derek Derek K from the challenge. And So they did like a Q&A on stage, and then we all watched the premiere episode together. And then after the premiere episode, we were doing the meet and greet where we meet all the challengers and we take pictures, right? So Anissa, I get pictures with everyone I could. Um, Theo and Olivia, I didn't get because I think they left a little early. But uh, I was going to go get my picture with Anissa. I had already met Anissa like maybe 3 times before that. Once in Philly and 2 times in New York at Tori's events that she had in New York the past 2 years before this one. And so as I was going to get my picture with her, she kind of hightailed it out of there. So I was like, you know what? I already got my pictures with everybody, so I'm about to leave. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I was gonna go get my car. As I was gonna go get my car, let me see, spamming. Okay. As I was gonna go get my car, I saw her standing outside crying, and I never told this story before because believe it or not, some people have made jokes and been like, "Oh, you're so thirsty for an interview," blah blah blah. If I just wanted, if my integrity didn't matter, I would say all kinds of things about these people that I meet at these events because I see so many things happen. This one I never talked about. I don't think I ever said anything about it anywhere. I just kind of talked about it for the first time. I made a post about it in my Facebook group, the Challenge All Star Chat today. And that was the only time I ever talked about it ever. So when I saw her outside, she was crying. Well, before she started crying, I asked her for a picture, and she was like, "Sure." She took a picture with me, and then somebody else asked for a picture like right after me, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood for pictures." So the reason she wasn't in the mood for pictures was because her father had just recently passed. I think at that point in time, he passed about maybe 1 or 2 months before the show premiered. And I think that while she was in the house, he was still alive, if I'm not mistaken, but he was on his deathbed. I think that she said she got a call, just like Kara got a call, honestly, because if you remember back early in the season, Kara got a call about her mom being sick, and she left the show. And I think that Anissa called home and got similar news, like her dad was sick, and I think that she stayed. And then, so when we were standing outside, it was myself, Anissa, and about like four. Hi, Dana Sipes. It was myself and her and about four or five other challenge fans out standing outside. So she starts breaking down and she starts talking about her dad and how much he loved him. She's showing us beautiful family pictures and sharing memories, and then she was talking about a little bit of like family drama, friend drama. This story was hitting home to me, honestly, just because the year before last I was dealing with some of the same things with the loss of my dad. So I was kind of sharing a little bit about that with her, which, and she was like, nothing is ever going to make this better. It's hard. I don't even really want to get into too much of that. But the reason that I'm mentioning this is because she said, I basically, like, I learned who my friends were and who my friends weren't. She said, I've known a lot of these people 10 plus years, 15 plus years, 20 plus for some of them. And she said, I've been a good friend to a lot of them. And she said, even other challengers have had their parents pass away. And she's like, I have been there for those people. And she said, a lot of the people on this season that I expected to like show up and be there for me were not. And she was like, I can't see myself being friends with them anymore. And I can't see myself forgiving them for that. So I think she named a few names. I remember a few of those names, but I'm not gonna say those names. But the name that I will say is the one that she was actually arguing with on stage, which was Ashley Mitchell, right? So she said when she was talking to us outside that day, she was like the thing with Ashley, she we had I didn't know, she didn't give us the details of what their argument was about, but she was like, we can argue about anything, she said, I'm a nice person, I'm a forgiving person, or whatever. We can go back and forth, things happen in the challenge house. But she said the point of no return for me was when she brought up my ailing dad who was dying. And she said, basically, I don't mess with her as a human being, and I'm not going to again after that because of that. So, um, the show cut out. The show showed their argument, but the part of the argument that they showed was basically um Ashley telling Anissa that she was big and out of shape, and Anissa reacting to that. Now, from everything that I have read and seen and heard these gossipy challengers like talking about on all these podcasts, um, that was the beginning. That was how Ashley initiated this discussion, was to talk about that. Hi Chris. But it seems like there was so much said between the lines. And the problem I'm having, Anissa gave one account, and then I heard Justin give an account. I heard Johnny Bananas give an account. I heard Ashley give her account. But it's like, because we can't see it for ourselves, people are basically going to side with whoever they are the bigger fan of. And if there's one thing that anyone who knows me knows that I don't like, is to is to have to pick a side in an argument um based on hearsay, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to be there for every situation that happens in life. So some things you are going to have to go by hearsay, right? But hearsay is difficult when you have biased sources. That's my problem. And I say this about life in general. If I'm in a room, right, I'm not going to sit here and say I have perfect recall. I always say this. People who have been on my channel long enough know that I say this all the time. I don't have perfect recall. Nobody does. But if I'm in a room and there's like 4 or 5 other people in the room, everybody knows that generally, if everybody knows me and there's me and those other 4 or 5 people in the room, they're gonna come to me first and be like, Mark, give me the facts, because I'm going to give as close to a factually accurate account as I can. And that's even when people have asked me to recount stories about disputes that I had with people that I don't like. I don't give a story like, oh, they just attacked me and said this and this. I did nothing to deserve it. And then they just came for me and they said this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. No. Even if I want the other person I'm talking to feel badly about them and negatively about them, I'm still gonna be like, they said this to me, this is how I responded. They said this, and then I responded like this. They gave me this low blow and I gave them this low blow as a response. So we've had all these challenge situations over the last few years, in the last several recent years, where the show chops and screws the footage. Like the Laurel Cara fight, we see Laura standing over Cara and Cara crying, but we don't see why. And Cara doesn't really tell us what they talked about. She just says the discussion got really toxic, and then through hearsay, um, Other people said that Laura was talking about Abram, and she was talking about Polly and calling Polly, like saying that Kara goes for abusive men, stuff like that, you know. But and but it's like when we don't see it, like I don't like having back and forth debates with fans over things that neither of us saw or heard. So I just wish they would be a little bit better. Not that you show. If they argued for an hour, not that we need an hour, but I feel like you should be showing the relevant parts, especially if you're gonna show them debating over it in the reunion episode. How are you gonna show them arguing about something that you didn't show us? That's my gripe. Like the challenge just needs to be uncensored a little bit for us. That's my feeling. Those are my thoughts on the most recent challenge and the most recent situation from the challenge, and that's it. Thanks for joining me. Please make sure like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you all. Have an amazing night.